Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Drive Home Podcast, Episode 1. I'm your host, Jonah.
And I'm your co-host, Nathan.
And today, we will be assigning letter grades to every president of the United States. So this is our first episode of the podcast.
Basically kind of an experiment we're having to see how this goes. You know, we've always wanted to, have a medium, have a voice in this world because, our idiot opinions mean something, so...
So yeah, we're just going to be talking about random stuff that we talk about on the drive home.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no other way to say it.
That's, maybe a little couple restaurant reviews here and there. You never know.
Reviews.
Ooh, we can't. We got to tease that. We got to tease that.
I know we can tease a certain place that we are going on our trip.
Let's just say it rhymes with lace band.
Lace band?
Lace band.
It rhymes with lace band. I'm sure you can figure that out. That review will be coming up as our next episode. So, stay tuned for that.
Definitely. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of presidents, let's start us off with...
We're going to jump into it?
That was a segue and a half right there. Let's jump right into it.
That's one way of saying it. All right. George Washington, would you like to kick us off?
George Washington, I will very much. Our homeboy,
G-Dubs.
G-Dubs.
We both unironically said G-Dubs at the same time.
Definitely an A. Definitely an A. All right.
Just an A?
Yes.
No plus?
He started the president, basically made sure that they wouldn't be a dictator, which is pretty lit. But I'm just gonna go with an A. I mean, the guy had wooden teeth.
Well, actually, that's actually not true.
Might have to knock that.
He didn't actually have wood teeth.
Oh.
It was animal teeth and slave teeth is what I've heard.
Oh, even
I don't know if that's true.
Better.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did you have to say?
Wait, so what prevented you from giving him that plus? What held him back?
What held him back, is basically he could have been, he could have made the president, all-powerful dictator, and he didn't, which is a very good thing, I don't know if that's A+ worthy. That's kind of all he did, He didn't really, acquire us any big patches of land. He didn't,
Well, we'll get to our boy
We'll
get to our boy Tommy J later. But.
He did, leave the U.S. in a very interesting position with, limited federal government power, which in some ways that's a good thing.
Makes it hard
but
to get
in
stuff
other
done.
ways, it makes it harder to get stuff done. Anyway,
which could be a positive if you look.
I guess it could be a positive, but why did you give him an A+?
I gave Washington an A+ because the presidency would not be what it is today without him. I mean, refusing to give a third term and giving up his power after 2 terms and showing that this wasn't just another country, this was the United States, and that we were going to limit the power of one person and uplift the power of everybody. So that's pretty much, and his farewell address, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. He was actually not a great general, that's what I've heard. He did win the revolution, but I've heard that Nathaniel Greene and those were better generals than Washington as a whole. But hey, the man won the war, so that's all that matters. The man won the war. But this is about president, so I don't know why I'm getting off on a tangent. Anyways, you want to talk about our boy John Adams?
John Adams, founding father. Very nice. Very one of the core few there in the club of the United States. I'm gonna give him a B-.
A B-? Okay.
A B-. He helped to get the U.S. through those earlier years and establish kind of somewhat of an economy, if limited. But again, the Alien and Sedition Acts made it harder to become a U.S. citizen in a time where the U.S. just started existing.
And not giving a lot of benefits for people who were immigrants who were already here. So yeah. I gave him a C, and I noted that he's a brilliant founding father. And he actually, I'm pretty sure in the Boston Massacre, he actually defended the Redcoats in court and got them off the hook for that. Even though he was a huge American patriot, a lot of people don't know that about him, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I gave him a C because I thought the Alien Sedition Acts really hurt his presidency. But, I mean, he did do some good things, like you were saying. But overall, fun fact about John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, did you know that they actually died on the same day? And there was the 4th of July.
That's whack.
That's the exact same day, same year.
That's whack.
And it's allegedly John Adams' last words were "Thomas Jefferson lives." And that's sad because Thomas Jefferson died.
Was very much dead.
He was very much dead on that day. So yeah. Speaking of Thomas Jefferson,
this is your guy.
This
So
is
I'm
my
going
president.
to say my opinion,
Careful.
and then I'm gonna let you, berate me, call me, racial slurs or whatever.
oh no.
I gave him a B.
Mm.
I might change it to a B plus because of the Louisiana Purchase in itself, which is very good. Doubled the size of the U.S. for very cheap, like 3 cents an acre or something. Very nice. However, he kind of did overextend his constitutional powers as president to do so, because there's no real, documents that say, oh yeah, the president can just go buy land from anyone. Congress would have had to approve it or
Tommy
whatever.
J does what Tommy J wants.
Okay, and we'll go right into your opinion. So let's hear it, man.
I mean, I 100% agree with what you were saying, but Thomas Jefferson, before president, drafts the most important document in human history, debatably, in the Declaration of Independence, only rivaled by Magna Carta. And he purchased the largest sum of land in all of U.S. history from France, because France was kind of struggling, and Thomas Jefferson was like, oh, let me capitalize on your struggling, because business, baby, that's how that works.
True American right
True
there.
American
True
businessman.
American patriot right
Some
there.
might say
Yes,
the first
sir.
American businessman, Thomas Jefferson. But yeah, so Thomas Jefferson, my girlfriend actually got me a bobblehead of Thomas Jefferson when she went to Philadelphia. That's how much I love this guy. I'm not saying he's the best human in American history.
Yeah.
He did do some things that were not the best, but
which again falls into that B rating.
okay,
but,
fair.
Well,
I didn't give him the A plus. I just gave him
that's
an A.
true. That is very true.
The plus,
very
he
true.
did have a child with a slave, which is not really the best. So, but he did do a lot of great things. He the Louisiana Purchase I talked about, but he communicated to the American people very well what his plans were. He also
Little corruption.
a little. The two-party divide was not the best, but I mean, overall,
the effects of the two-party divide we see to this day.
I think the two-party divide was inevitable, though.
Well, that also makes sense.
Humanity naturally kind of goes into a few categories and just. But yeah.
Anyway, moving on. We have homeboy, household name, James Madison.
The shortest president.
The shortest, and
He was 5'4" and he weighed 100 pounds. This man was barely able to ride Space Mountain and he was running the country.
which that also kind of reflects in my ranking. I'm giving him a C.
Is that highest?
I'm giving him a C. I may or may not be 5'11". All right,
5'11".
I may or may not be taller than, James Madison, but I'm gonna have to give him a C.
The father of the Constitution gets a C?
He gets a C. The Constitution, great document. That's why he's amazing. But however,
That's not his presidency.
that's number one. That's not his presidency, and number two, the way he handled the War of 1812.
He was actually the last president to lead troops in battle, though. So that's pretty cool.
That might bump him up to a C plus. That's
C+?
pretty. That's pretty nice right there.
He might have had to ride a donkey because he was 5'4" tall. But
Definitely not being in the cavalry there. But anyway, yeah, the War of 1812 could have been handled better. We could have had that more diplomatically instead of just claiming that we were ready to fight Britain when we really, really weren't.
Think about it though. Would the U.S. have the national anthem if it wasn't for the War of 1812?
That is also a fair point.
Does that justify an entire
Does
war?
that
Probably not,
justify
but
loss of American lives? Maybe, but hey, we got a cool song.
it's a good song.
Good song.
It's a very hard song to sing.
Very song.
That's why I don't sing it, because it's ridiculously hard to sing.
And we're not singing on this podcast, by the way. It's,
Yet. Stay tuned.
Well, we'll see. Anyway, your opinion?
Maybe at Lace Band we'll think about.
We'll see. Yeah. We would definitely
Make it a little.
we'll think
little
about
impression.
that. Anyway, Madison.
He didn't really do a lot during his presidency, so I gave him a B.
Other than drag us into the War of 1812.
Well,
but
did he drag us into it?
I guess he didn't. Yeah, he more of just declared it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's true. But he didn't really do a whole lot during his presidency, so.
Yeah.
But next, we have James Monroe.
James Monroe. Okay, this guy, I'm giving him a B plus.
B plus?
I think he did fairly well, and I really do like the Monroe Doctrine.
Great ponytail.
Great ponytail, and
You have to add that.
The Monroe Doctrine was basically said like, Europe, get away from here. This is, our sphere. So y'all go mess with someone else. America's, that's us. We're in charge of them. You come over here, you mess with us, which I think is pretty ballsy.
That's pretty cool. No, but actually, the picture of the painting of Washington crossing the Delaware.
Right.
James Madison's actually in that picture. A lot of people don't know that.
Very nice.
Like right behind Washington, doing the cool pose and all. He's actually right behind him in that picture. Has nothing to do with the presidency, so I don't even know why I'm talking about it. But
was he in the battle then? Did he fight or anything, or is he just
he's
there?
in the painting?
He's just
so
in the painting.
I assume he's in the battle.
Absolute legend.
The painting is just a lie. Is the painting? No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyways, for Madison, he had a very well balanced cabinet, probably the most well balanced in American history.
Monroe.
Yeah, he had a very well balanced cabinet, or at least since Washington, because Washington was very unpartisan, and he unified the country pretty well following the War of 1812, and he supported infrastructure, which a lot of presidents at this time supported it. So
yeah, considering there wasn't any.
Yeah,
but
not having infrastructure makes infrastructure important. Make that a T-shirt. All right, we moving on.
Yes, let's go.
JQA. John Quincy Adams, the first son of a president to become president, and it did not take very long.
All right, I'm giving this guy a B. Basically,
okay.
He didn't do anything horribly wrong. He didn't do anything that stood out horribly well. But, however, there's this neat fact. He would actually skinny dip in the Potomac River.
The Potomac?
The Potomac River. He would take he'd just go swimming. Just randomly just go swimming.
We should try that out.
Which I think is pretty cool. So, anyway, your take?
Well, I had him at a C+, but after hearing about the Potomac, I might bump him up to a B. I mean, that's pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the great stories.
That
defines America right there.
Yeah, just,
All
stripping
right,
down.
We're jumping John Quincy Adams up to a B. He was actually, I don't know if he was the only president, but I know he served in Congress after his presidency. He served in the House of Representatives. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he continued his career then.
Yeah.
Anyway, next up.
We got Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson. This is gonna be an interesting figure here. I had to go with a D+. Solely because of the Indian Removal Acts.
Yeah, that was not the best.
They could have been handled better. He didn't have any positives though. He did the Indian Removal Act, but then it didn't really have anything to redeem him.
He did. I'm getting there. He actually expanded voting rights to not include property.
Oh, that is good. That is very good.
So Jackson's actually, I think.
Maybe I might move him up to a C-.
I think Jackson's over-criticized. I do think what he did was absolutely terrible and unjustified.
Trail of Tears.
Well, we'll get to the Trail of Tears on our next president, but I mean, he's on the $20 bill for now until Harriet Tubman replaces him. But expanding voting rights, he didn't go far enough, but for what it was, I think he was.
It was a step in the right direction.
I gave him a C because I think that the positive and the negative balance each other out. The negative, I'd probably lean toward the negatives a little more, maybe a C-, but I'm going to stick with a C for now. So, yeah, that's how I have Jackson. He did, if you heard the story about, there was an assassination attempt on him, and the guy's gun misfired. And then he put it away, and he had a spare, so he pulled the spare out and shot, and it misfired. And then Jackson beat the absolute life out of him with a cane.
That's pretty neat right there.
Material.
That could be...
It's not Potomac level.
I'll put him up to C.
It's not.
I had him at a D+. I'll bump him up to C.
Two rankings.
I'll bump him up to that. Wow. I feel like just someone who will 2 assassination attempts. 2 chances he could have died.
In 10 seconds.
In a span of, and then you just beat the tar out of him with a cane. That's
great.
That's nice.
Now we have Martin Van Buren, not the best president, but the best sideburns in American history.
I can agree with that.
I mean, those things are flying high. What you got to say about old Van Buren?
Where to start? You've got the Panic of 1837. Because
I'm not sure
he
what
didn't
that is.
do anything. Is basically the U.S. was going through a recession, and he did absolutely nothing to combat that, and so it just got worse, and then became a panic, and then the economy just kind of broke for a little minute because he refused to leave the gold and silver standard when he really should have. So that the currency fell and it was not good.
This will probably not be the first time we return or probably not be the only time we speak of the gold standard in this podcast.
Indeed.
Martin Van Buren, the Trail of Tears is probably the worst part.
Oh, on top of that. Oh, I didn't tell you. I ranked him at a D-.
The Indian Removal Act was during Jackson, but the Trail of Tears, like the actual removal of the Cherokee, was during Van Buren's administration. So I gave him a D-. Sideburns are the only reason he's not an F.
I can see that.
But, yeah, I don't know. Next we have William
Henry Harrison. I'm going to give him an A, dude. Like, he wasn't president for like a month, but he gave his inauguration speech, in the rain.
He spoke himself to death.
He literally, it's out there storming, raining and stuff. There's a high risk of pneumonia. He's like, I'm doing it anyway. Gave his inauguration speech, died a month later of pneumonia. Absolute legend.
Apparently the reason he did that is because there was a lot of people saying that he was not fit to be in office physically. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to give a 2-hour speech in the rain, in the cold. And it turns out those people were probably correct because he did die about a month later. But he was a good general. He was a good general before he became president.
But yeah, that's definitely A tier worthy. He definitely A for effort. A for effort on this one.
He's one of the most badass presidents probably.
Oh, definitely.
He's definitely up there.
Definitely.
But he was also only president for a month, so I did not give him a letter grade.
And he also did prove them right, as in, he just died after his speech.
That is true.
That might mark him down to a B.
We'll leave it an A. No one talks about him. Give him his time in the spotlight.
Yeah, we'll give him an A.
All right. Next we have John Tyler, who still has, I don't know if he still has, as of at least the last 5 years, has 2 living grandsons. I think one of them is dead. But he had 2 living grandsons still to this day, or at least as of the last 5-10 years, which is crazy because he was president in 1840s or 30s. So that's crazy. He didn't really do a whole lot, though. I mean, Henry Clay was basically running the country at this point, and he was just, there.
Yeah, I'll second that. I will second that.
Henry Clay, one of the saddest stories in American history, because he basically did everything but become the president. He tried so hard, and he failed. Again and again. That's just this American tragedy of Henry Clay.
All right, moving down the line.
James K.
James K. Polk. And this is where I think we're going to be the most heated against each other.
Really?
I'm going to put him at a C-.
A C-?
C-.
Dude, he did the mullet before the mullet was cool.
Yes, I understand that, but he was also a war hawk. If you've got it, which is someone who he would,
This is 1840.
This is 1840, so I mean, I guess it's kind of the cool new thing to go invade other countries and establish American
not the only time
dominance.
We'll go to that.
But he's kind of a war hawk, kind of like preying off of war. That's how he kept his presidency.
I did put the annexation of Texas and Mexican-American War. I gave him a B because I think overall he handled those things well. Whether you support the annexation of Texas or not, I mean, the U.S. has Texas now, and Texas
Very true. Texas also wanted to join us. Mexico did not.
Texas might want to leave us. I've heard
well, true. Texas might want to leave
Apparently
us now, too.
It's written in their...
Yeah, they've got this referendum thing planned out. So, if something happens, they're going to call a vote, and, the people can vote to leave, which is going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
Texas?
I guess just become the nation of Texas, which... I mean, from some people might want that to happen.
That'd be cool.
Some people might not, but
would the Dallas Cowboys still be?
Ooh, that is the real questions that need to be asked.
The Dallas Stars, the Dallas Cowboys,
that's what
the Dallas
really
Mavericks,
need to be. Those are the questions. Those are the questions right there.
Answer in the comments section.
Yeah. Just blow up the comments.
Do you think that if Texas became a country, that they would still be in the professional sports leagues? How do we get onto this? Anyways, Zachary Taylor. He didn't really do a whole lot.
L. I gave him an L.
Was he the one that died from eating the cherries?
I think he was.
I think he was.
I'm
not gonna lie. I don't know a lot about him. I gave him a C minus.
I can agree to that.
But he was a general, so. Very nice.
All right. Here we go.
I'm gonna guess him.
Millard Fillmore.
Has anyone talked about Millard Fillmore in the last 30 years?
That's a good question.
We're about to.
I doubt, isn't he from Cars? Isn't there a Fillmore from Cars?
Fillmore is the guy who gives lightning the energy.
Okay.
He is a hippie, Grateful Dead. Yeah. Anyways, Fillmore If you look at Millard Fillmore, you can't tell me he does not look like Alec Baldwin trying to play Donald Trump on SNL.
As much as I agree with you with that. He does very much look like Alec Baldwin.
If you haven't looked up a picture of Millard Fillmore, look him up and tell me he does not look exactly like him.
You don't even have to do Alec Baldwin playing Donald Trump. Just a picture of Alec Baldwin. Just put them side by side. Like it's shocking.
It really is. I wonder if they're related. They have to be. Or if what if Millard Fillmore is Alec Baldwin? Like he just
hasn't died yet.
Yeah, and he's just Alec Baldwin.
He's just Alec Baldwin.
And that would make recent events in the last year interesting, but we won't get into that. Franklin Pierce.
Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce is name.
We forgot to acknowledge that Millard Fillmore had the fugitive slave laws, and he kind of abused his power. So he gets a D. I gave him a D+.
I'll agree to that. But he also had the Compromise of 1850, which probably not the best.
Yeah,
but
that's not
a good thing.
D+ is what I gave.
D+. I'll agree to that. All right, next. Franklin Pierce. Franklin Pierce. Benjamin Franklin Pierce, which is not his name. It's the name of a character from MASH. That's an old show. Good shout out to anyone who understands that.
All three of you.
But
and if
anyway.
you were over the age of 50, most likely, or Nathan Garrett.
Franklin Pierce, I gave him a C, mainly because a lot of presidents during this time are having to deal with a bunch of stuff over slavery and stuff, and no one really had the answer. He gets a C.
Yeah, Franklin Pierce is actually a sad story because I believe his son died before he went into office, and he was basically just an alcoholic throughout his whole presidency. And I put that in the Kansas-Nebraska Act is a big negative. And I put the Gadsden Purchase, which I think acquired Arizona and parts of New Mexico, is a positive. But he's actually considered to be our most attractive president. So that's why I gave him a D. He didn't get a D-.
Ladies. Anyway,
Please never do that again. I will end this as soon as you do that again. Anyways, now we're at my first F of the tier list, James Buchanan. Now, I don't think the Civil War happens because of James Buchanan, but I don't think he really did a whole lot to try to prevent it. I think Civil War was pretty much inevitable, but he pretty much sat there and did nothing to prevent the Civil War from happening, so.
Yeah, that is true. He also, was a little spineless, and while he wasn't having any control over his own country, he also wasn't standing up for his own country. With Britain was able to come in and just kind of push him around a bit.
Yeah, that's facts. But I gave him an F. Did you give him an F as well, or
D?
You gave him a D?
I gave him a D.
You don't think he's an F?
He didn't do anything hurtful to destroy the country, other than
that big Civil War,
big thing called the Civil War, but
that more Americans died in than any other war.
He didn't
just keep it a D. Okay,
yeah, keep it a D.
All right, he's an F for me. Next we have Honest Abe.
Honest Abe, Abraham Lincoln.
$5 bill himself.
$5 Abe. That's what everyone calls him, right? I gave him an A.
I gave him an A+.
I gave him an A, and the reason why, is because I'll be honest with you, he didn't have the best security.
Oh my God.
He didn't have the best security. As a president, you gotta make sure, that these things don't happen.
You went there.
He just didn't have the right security. Got shot in the back of the head.
You want to say any good things about him? Or just the fact that he had bad security and got shot in the head?
No, absolutely great president. He was under a lot of stress through the Civil War and would constantly just, make jokes throughout the White House. You
can probably acknowledge he probably deserves to be an A+.
Oh yeah, he definitely 100% deserves to be an A+. This was just that was a bit, guys. That was a bit. Okay. It was a joke.
All right.
But yeah, definitely an A+ guy. He was making jokes to keep his cabinet happy during the Civil War, which again was a very stressful time for him.
A lot of people say he was actually slightly depressed during the war, which
100%.
Which makes a lot of sense.
100%. He was very happy after the war, especially when he was going to that theater, which is why it was so gruesome. And
yeah, do you think Gettysburg is the best speech ever given by an American president?
Absolutely. He, the previous speaker went up for an hour or two speaking, and then Abe
goes
up for 2 minutes and completely he's got the club jumping, dude. He's got the crowd.
7 years ago. Yep. I think the fact that he made the war about abolition also, I don't think a lot of leaders in that position would have done that. But he listened. I agree. He listened to Frederick Douglass and people like that, and it was just.
I agree.
I think his ability to listen to the people around him, and also he was a great politician. He also knew he knew how to. I don't even want to use the word manipulate, but manipulate people into kind of doing what he wanted to, and he didn't have the best success picking generals in the Civil War. I mean,
third time's the charm.
Ulysses S. Grant was a great general, but McClellan and that backfired on him, but he won. So.
Burnside, yeah. Although amazing sideburns, which is interesting name.
Rivaling Martin Van Buren sideburns?
Rivaling Martin Van Buren.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been great to see a reconstruction with Abraham Lincoln because he had more plans to help rebuild the South.
No, I completely agree. But speaking of reconstruction, our next president.
Oh boy.
You give him the old F on this one?
No, Andrew Johnson. I'll give him a B+. Okay? I'll give him a B+.
I need an explanation as soon as possible.
Because, yes, he did have the South under military occupation.
That's just...
Which was necessary considering they just...
You're giving Andrew Johnson a better grade than Thomas Jefferson.
Am I? Maybe I'll bump Andrew Johnson down to a B. I can't keep up with this.
I have Andrew Johnson as an F because he literally is the reason Reconstruction failed.
Well, yeah, he could have done more.
He was a pro-slavery Southern Democrat who did not support abolition. He was a terrible president.
Oh.
And then the next guy, we're not going to go to him yet, but tried to clean up with his mess, and it was ridiculous. He's a terrible, awful president.
I changed my mind. I'll give him a D.
A D.
I'll give him a D.
I think you made the right choice on that one. Well, I think he's an F. I think he's one of the 3 worst presidents in American history, if not the worst president in American history. I would say he's worse than James Buchanan because James Buchanan is bad because he just didn't do anything. But Andrew Johnson's bad because he's just a bad person. He's just not great. This next guy, hero of the Civil War, Ulysses S. Grant, $50 bill.
$50 bill. That's what they call him, $50 Grant.
I thought it was no surrender grant.
Yeah, unconditional surrender grant.
Unconditional surrender grant.
Anyway,
very creative name.
An alcoholic.
I mean,
who wasn't? But
this is the 1860s and 70s.
I'm gonna give him, a C+.
C+, that's fair.
C+, because he had a noticeably corrupt cabinet.
Very corrupt cabinet.
Very corrupt cabinet. But he also had to deal with a lot of stuff that your previous boy Johnson, laid out, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
He had to deal with Reconstruction.
I gave him a B. The corruption is the biggest thing that hurts him. I honestly am probably going to bring him down to a B-, or maybe even a C+. I don't know. I'll bring him down to a B- for now. But he did try to fight for civil rights, and she did try for Reconstruction, but it was kind of unpopular. It was unpopular by this point. People were just done with it. And he actually died in a really sad way. I mean, he had throat cancer, and apparently he said it was every time he swallowed, it was like acid. So it's really sad, but I think his whiskey didn't help. I mean,
yeah, fair enough.
He was good, but his alcoholism and stuff, I think, hindered his ability to become one of the better presidents. And also, he wasn't really set up for success. So yeah. Now we're kind of going to a stretch of presidents. I don't feel like we should spend a ton of time on it.
Yeah, this would be a lightning round.
They're not very
This would be a
interesting.
lightning round because they're all B's and C's.
Rutherford B.
Nothing
Hayes,
really
a C-. I gave Hayes a C-.
C-.
I believe his election is the only one to have proven election fraud in it, though.
Yeah, honestly, not that much that was very important in his presidency. We could just honestly skip him.
I think he was the first president to have a phone in the White House.
That's interesting.
I think his phone number is 1.
Just 1?
Yeah.
Was he the first phone ever?
I don't think so, but
anyway, moving on. James Garfield, mid.
I gave him NA. He wasn't president for that long. He got assassinated.
Yeah, not something cool
He's a very smart man.
Speaking in the rain, but
he was a very smart man though. He could write, I think it's Chinese and Latin with his left and right hand at the same time.
That's pretty neat.
B? Let's give him a B.
B just for that.
He had a lot of potential, I think. But next we have Chester A. Arthur.
Again, another one of those
great mustaches in American history.
Exactly.
We had a lot of good facial hair.
Yeah. What happened with that? Now guys just just
basic haircuts.
Yeah.
We should bring this back.
Bring back the mutton chops.
I actually gave Chester Arthur a B-. He actually reduced corruption in the federal government, so that's the main reason I brought him down.
Very, very solid.
Or
very
brought
solid.
him up, I guess.
Yeah, bumped him up. Yeah, honestly, I'll give him a C.
Yeah.
Nothing notable. Grover Cleveland.
I gave him a B-.
B-?
He had the balls to run 2 times non-consecutively. He went through it and was like, you know what? Let's do that again. And he had time to think about it, too, which is crazy. And he actually vetoed more in his tenure than anyone else, which is, well...
Which could be good, could be bad.
Actually, I think it was his first term. I think FDR might have vetoed more. But, yeah. Benjamin Harrison.
Another one of those C-tier.
He's very C-tier.
Yeah.
He literally... I could not tell you anything about Benjamin Harrison. I'm sorry. I apologize. William McKinley.
William McKinley. What can you tell me about William McKinley?
Was he assassinated?
I can't remember.
He think he was. He was assassinated. But he annexed Hawaii. And whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, he did it.
Solid.
So I gave him a C+.
Without him, we wouldn't have had Pearl Harbor.
I mean, I guess that is true, yes. We wouldn't have pineapple as much, though.
That's true. Pineapple's my favorite fruit. Absolutely solid. Anyway, side note.
Oh.
Next up, you already know.
Is this Mr. Roosevelt?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt. Okay.
They named
Speak softly and carry a big stick. That's him.
That is some foreign policy right there.
That is, he had that, the American powerhouse. He basically, some credit him with founding the American Empire.
Yeah.
Just because of, his whole manifest destiny, like, we're going to project our power throughout the world. During this time, he had, he sent out this mission called the Great White Fleet, which is basically when America had this, amazing navy, and he just sent it around the world, just touring places, just to show off, flexing American muscle.
He just went to Yellowstone. I believe it was Yellowstone. I know he went out west for like a month, and no one asked. They were just like, you know what, Teddy being Teddy.
Yeah.
He's basically what happens if you cross a grizzly bear and Winston Churchill. You get Teddy Roosevelt.
Fair.
I mean, they named one of the most famous kid stories of all times after him.
Exactly.
Teddy Bear. Trust busting.
Towards his more like non-manifest destiny things. Definitely use the Sherman Antitrust Act to actually antitrust some things.
That is true.
So that's pretty.
He also got shot in the middle of a speech and finished.
Exactly. That's an A+.
Gettysburg is first, but that's a close second.
That's an A+ right there.
You gave him an A+?
I gave him an A+.
I gave him an A.
I'll be honest. I'll give him an A+.
I gave him an A.
Just because he also worked with reformers like Upton Sinclair to reform the meatpacking industry, which that's a whole nother side tangent right there. But, through the Pure Food and Drug Act and other things like that.
I feel like Teddy Roosevelt's one of the few American presidents, other than like Washington and Lincoln and those, that we can agree is like a great president. I feel like everyone agrees Teddy Roosevelt's pretty awesome.
Like you just need a quick Google search, you'll be convinced.
Yeah.
Like he's done so many things.
Shot and finished his speech.
Oh my, exactly. Yeah.
We got to move on though. We got William Howard Taft.
I know famously known for being
stuck in the
large
bathtub,
for his bathtub,
which is probably not true.
Yeah, who knows? But
I doubt it's true.
Who knows? But it's still fun to poke fun.
I want it to be true.
Started the American trend of obesity. Underwhelming. I'll give him a C.
Yeah,
he didn't have anything.
I gave him a C too. He didn't really do a lot memorable, but he did serve in all three branches, which does not have anything.
That is interesting.
Doesn't have anything to do with his presidency.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
It's really cool that he did. He's the only president. And
hey, who knows? Later episode, maybe we'll come back and review all the president's social lives. Personal lives, and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think that would be very popular.
Yeah,
this is going to be an interesting one.
Woodrow Wilson. Now, I understand that he has a dark past, maybe.
He played Birth of a Nation at the White House. He screened it at the White House.
But I feel like he's underrated. I'm going to give him a B. Mainly because he got us through World War I, which some might argue,
You think the U.S. is
we shouldn't supposed to be in World War I or whatever, but Woodrow Wilson's 4 freedoms are, a key part of our democracy. Freedom from want or freedom from need. So, we'll never
call me an idiot, but I thought, is it FDR that was it 4 freedoms?
No. This was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson's 4 freedoms.
What was FDR?
FDR basically banked off of these, or am I just absolutely stupid? Let me do a quick middle of the podcast fact check.
Please do a fact check, because I think that's FDR. Anyways, I give him an F. I think it's absolutely terrible. He's super racist. Edith Wilson basically ran the country.
Oh, never mind. I'm a complete idiot. Disregard everything. It was FDR's Four Freedoms.
Yeah,
Woodrow Wilson gets a C. He gets a C for trying to do the League of Nations and then failing anyway. Woodrow Wilson was the 15 points, which was basically 15 things that countries need to do so they don't go to war again.
You were 11 things off.
And that worked about as well as you might think because, World War II happened. But anyway.
He's basically a socialist.
Keep going. Forget
Not
I said
good.
anything about that.
All right, Calvin Coolidge.
Calvin Coolidge.
One of my personal favorites.
One of your personal favorites. Tell me about him.
Silent Cal.
Tell me about him.
I gave Calvin Coolidge an A-. I said he understood what a president should be, and there was actually a story where he met a reporter. I don't know if it's true or not. It's probably true, though. He met a reporter at some dinner or something, and the reporter kept saying, I bet you that I can make you say 3 words. And he said, you lose.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow. I gave him a B+.
B+? That's fair.
B+. Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover, known for the Hoover Dam, which he kind of built, kind of didn't.
He actually, the vacuum Hoover?
Yeah.
They actually created those for him. You know why?
Why?
He sucked. He sucked. I gave him a D-. I think he's horrible. I don't think the Great Depression happens because of him, but like Hoovervilles, he didn't do anything to help the Great Depression.
Yeah, I gave him a C just because with my C, it's you didn't do anything. That's my C ranking. It's you didn't do anything good, you didn't do anything bad. Which I guess in this case with the Great Depression,
he's like
not doing anything is doing something bad.
Of the Great Depression.
Yeah, I could bump him down to a C-.
Yeah.
But he still tried, with the Hoover Dam.
The next one I think we're pretty not far apart. I think we both agree that this guy's a great president, but our rankings are a little different. I gave FDR a B+.
Ooh, you're gonna have to explain that one, Chief.
I think he was a very good leader, very well spoken, 4 freedoms. We're bringing those back up since he's actually the one that said them.
He is actually the one. I'm sorry. This is We'll get into that later. Continue. But
great leader through World War II. I don't love that he ran for 4 terms. I didn't knock him too much for it because hey, he went for it.
Yeah, it was there. There's nothing telling him he couldn't.
Yeah, but fireside chats were great. Good communication with the American people. I didn't like a lot of the New Deal. I think was good for the time, but I think a lot of the entitlement programs and stuff like that, and it kind of hurt African Americans during that period of time. But I think he was a good leader through World War II, and I think the whole Japanese internment camps hurt his presidency a little bit for me, so I gave him a B+. But that's just my opinion.
I'm gonna have to give him an A+. Absolute solid president, got us out of the Great Depression through using his power as a president. It wasn't like getting bailed out by some other nation. He basically took the American economy and used the American economy to fix the American economy.
Do you not think the New Deal's flawed a little bit?
The New Deal, some people argue that the New Deal is, an overextension of the government's power, which I can see the argument in that. However, I think it was necessary during the time. When you have an unemployment of 25%, that's not good.
I can agree with that. What about leaving the gold standard?
Leaving the gold standard... last time we didn't leave the gold standard, we went into the crisis of 1837. So I don't know. It probably needed to happen at some point. Might as well then than later.
Yeah.
World War II again led us through a really hard time. He had to balance the American people, their public opinion with the needs of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Which I think is something very notable. Also, right. His 4 freedoms, which I praise for Woodrow Wilson, which are actually FDR. They're pretty solid.
He's a 4 freedoms guy. Woodrow Wilson's that's Birth of a Nation guy.
Yeah.
A little different.
Yeah, a little different.
We both can agree FDR is great, even
FDR's
though
amazing.
We both gave him different grades.
Yes. FDR is an A+ in my opinion. All
right. Now, Harry S. Truman. What'd you give him? I gave him a B+.
I'll give him a B.
A B?
I'll give him a B.
So we're pretty much in agreement on him. I said he ended World War II and helped create a national identity following World War II.
I'll drink to that.
He dropped the bomb, which
okay, depending on who you
This
ask,
is kind of how we disagree, I think.
Yeah, I think, I understand that it was the quick way out with the less deaths, and it would otherwise a land invasion would have been
Way worse.
way worse.
Operation Downfall.
But it was still like he ushered in the age of nuclear weapons.
That is true. But
again, still got us through World War II. Everyone was happy.
yeah,
I'll give him a B.
I gave him a B plus. I think he's about. Actually, I'm gonna give him a B because I think FDR is a little bit of a better president than Truman. So I think it's only fair that I give him a B. Yeah. All right, we'll do that. Eisenhower, Dwight D. Well, we're not giving him a D. He's a better president than that, I would hope, in your
Oh yeah, B
ranking.
plus in my opinion.
B plus?
B plus. I put him higher than Truman.
I did
Basically
too.
because internal improvements. Like this man beefed up our infrastructure during the Cold
Very
War.
bald.
Like very bald indeed. Very bald.
I mean,
like
he looks like a mechanic.
You say like Sputnik could probably see the shine coming off of his head. But very very well, built a lot of roads. The interstate highway system, that's huge. Anyway.
Your Sputnik joke was funny. All right, Dwight, I gave him a minus, and I put because of the interstate highway system, and he fought communism and civil rights.
Very nice.
Now, not super successfully, but
yeah,
he did his best.
At least as some people coming down the line.
Yeah, he did. So I gave him an A minus. I think he's overall a really good president. He's pretty bipartisan, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Wasn't he the one who said in everything economics I am a Republican, but everything socially I am a Democrat?
Yes.
Which I think is a pretty solid stance to
especially
stand.
For that period of time.
Especially that's a very solid.
That's a time where
some people could take some notes.
Social liberalism was kind of important because the civil rights
when you have
movement
half of your population, we're not half, but you understand what I'm saying.
A large portion of
the population is.
All right, this was
which brings us to
John F. Kennedy.
JFK.
I gave him a B plus.
I agree with you. B plus all the way.
I think he's probably remembered a little better than he actually was.
Yeah, I feel like there's this, there's a whole stigma about, him being like, oh, it's JFK. He's one of those
A plus.
He's one of those 3-letter presidents. All of them were good, right?
Well,
But,
we'll get to the next guy and we'll see where that goes.
But
JFK, I put his leadership through the Cuban Missile Crisis was
very nice. Very nice.
He didn't sleep for 3 days, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And the stress he was put under could not have been.
Yeah, him and was it Khrushchev? I don't know.
Khrushchev was the.
Did you say it? All right.
Khrushchev was the Soviet commissar.
He did start to get us into Vietnam.
Yeah, and that's
kind of
probably why he's in the B ranking.
That's Truman Doctrine-esque.
Yeah.
I might knock Truman down for that. I might knock him to a B.
Yeah.
Because the Truman Doctrine was not.
Made good strides with the civil rights movement.
Yeah, JFK did. And
made good strides.
Space race.
Pledged
to go to the moon. Great speaker.
Yeah, very good.
Not the best. Not the best husband.
Yeah, that's another reason why he's probably knocked down.
I think the fact that he was assassinated may lead him to be remembered better than he was.
I agree.
But
if you're bad and you get assassinated, you're still bad. But if you're good, but if you're somewhat decent and get assassinated, you're probably going to be elevated more.
No, but that's I do think he's a good president though, so I give him a B plus.
Indeed. Next, one of the final 3-letter presidents.
LBJ. Lyndon B. Johnson. I gave him a C plus.
C.
Yeah, the civil rights is pretty much the only bright spot of his presidency, which is a very
even with that he was very sluggish with.
That's true.
Like he took forever.
He was a Southern Democrat who did kind of go against norms, so I do gotta give him credit for that.
Exactly.
But
I feel that oh gosh, what was that movie? Oh gosh, the one that Malloy showed us. What's it called?
Selma.
I feel like they did a very good job of portraying LBJ.
Yeah.
If you want to learn about LBJ, watch Selma.
Selma's a really good movie. It portrays Martin Luther King Jr. Very well as well.
And Governor Wallace, who was
George Wallace. Yeah.
George Wallace. He was
Alabama, right?
Yeah. Roll Tide.
Okay, moving on to Richard Nixon.
I am not a crook.
That's
my rating.
That's your rating? All right.
He gets one I am not a crook out of
crook.
I
gave Richard Nixon a C. I think he's pretty much like yeah, he was kind of fraudulent, but I feel like he's pretty much just the one that got caught. Because I'm pretty sure, didn't LBJ spy on Barry Goldwater's campaign?
He seems like the kind of guy who would. I'll be honest with you.
No, but his foreign policy was... I mean, he was, I think, the first president to go to China in I don't know how long.
And make jokes with the emperor.
Thank you, Forrest Gump.
Well, yes, indeed.
For ping pong diplomacy.
He also, what Nixon said, he was like, he saw that one of their artifacts in China was these earplugs, and they were like, whenever the emperor didn't want to hear criticism, he would put these in, and he was immediately turned around and he was like, oh shoot, I could use some of those.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But anyway, coming next we have the guy who pardoned Nixon,
Gerald Ford. Pretty much all he did.
That's really all he's really kind of known for. Guy who pardoned Nixon. I'd say that's a C.
I gave him a C minus.
Because I mean, a C.
He was okay. He was only president.
If you listen to his reasoning for pardoning Nixon, he was like, I could do anything, but I really don't want to tarnish his reputation.
Wanted the country to move forward.
Yeah, he wanted us to just kind of forget about it and not let it split us. So that's respectable. I feel like that puts him in the C tier.
Yeah. I might add, we are not rating past Ronald Reagan because it's too early to tell for those presidents how their term is
how their legacy will be.
Yeah.
How they will be remembered.
And pretty much it's just partisan past that point. So it's kind of hard to
alienate some group in our fan base.
Yeah, exactly. So next we have Jimmy Carter, probably the best man to ever be president. Great human being.
He's an F is what we're trying to say.
He's a terrible president. I mean, I gave him a D minus. Great person. Terrible economy. Iranian hostage crisis. Not good. War on drugs. Not good.
It's also interesting. He's like the first one who really had to deal with terror.
Yeah.
Which I guess he kind of got thrown under the bus. That might put him up to a D in my opinion.
He may be a little better than people remember, but I still don't think that he was
He's
not.
like George Bush without 9/11.
That's pretty accurate. That's a pretty good description of Jimmy Carter, actually. Teaches Sunday school every day, every Sunday. Great person. Helps with Habitat for Humanity. Not a great president.
All right.
Now we're coming to the last president on our ranking list, or our letter grades. Ronald Reagan.
B. He got the economy stacking cash, my guy.
Yeah, I gave him an A minus.
A minus?
Really? I think Ronald Reagan's a great president. Now, criminal justice and all that, it's not his best.
And the economy was booming, but the whole trickle-down economics thing kind of didn't work at all. Because, you give money to rich people, what are they going to do?
But
keep the money?
We all know he has probably the best quote in American history.
Yeah.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this
wall. Which,
it's in the top 5. I don't know.
Legendary. He straight up walked up to, and he's chilling him, and just called for the wall.
I would say he ended the Cold War. The Cold War kind of ended itself.
Well, yeah, but Russia collapsed in on itself, but he was there when it happened.
But he made it go out in style. Yeah. I mean,
I'll agree.
He was funny too.
He gets a B. Yeah,
he
was like a balloon popped, and he was like, "Oh, you missed me." It's like it's one of his speeches. Balloon popped.
He wasn't. He didn't get missed when.
But he survived.
He did survive because he's Ronald Reagan and he does what he wants.
But I'll change him to a B plus. You convinced me.
Who was the guy who shot him?
I don't know.
Look up his name. I can't remember his name.
All right.
But he shot him to impress Jodie Foster, I remember. And Brady, who was inspired by the Brady Bill, was shot. Hinckley Jr.
Hinckley Jr.
That's right. Yep, and they actually...
fully released from court restrictions on Wednesday. This was in 2020, June 15th.
Watch out for John.
After 41 years, 2 months, and 50 days, he is quoted with saying, "Freedom at last." 41 years, 2 months, and 15 days.
Wow.
Freedom at last.
Who would have thought? Shooting a president, it must have been a mental health thing.
I'd assume so, yeah.
No, but yeah, Reagan is... I love Reagan. I mean, he's such a good speaker. When he was in a debate with what's his name, and he was like, "I'm not going to make age a problem of this campaign, and I will not exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience." And he was like an older guy too, so he was just a really funny guy. But yeah, that's it.
That's our
ranking.
Or at least all the presidents we want to touch.
Yeah.
And 40's an even number. 40's a good number.
So who are you saying is your favorite president?
Oh gosh, favorite prez.
I'm still going Thomas Jefferson.
Classically, I'm supposed to say...
Not the best, your favorite.
My favorite... gosh, I'm gonna have to go with FDR.
FDR's your favorite?
FDR is my favorite.
Nice. Who do you think's the best president ever?
The best president we've had. Goodness.
I'm going to say George Washington. But
Washington.
I think Abraham Lincoln is a very close second.
Abraham Lincoln is a close second.
And if someone wants to argue that Abraham Lincoln's the best, I will 100%.
You would go with it. Like you
can,
wouldn't tell them that they were wrong.
No.
You might not agree wholeheartedly, but you wouldn't tell them they were wrong, which I can respect.
Yeah.
Best president though, I want to say Teddy Roosevelt. And
you were creative with the Roosevelts.
I'm gonna say why because he created America as the American Empire, the superpower that we are today. We would not be here today, on the world stage. Which some can argue is a good thing, some can argue is a bad thing. I think it's pretty lit.
I think it's a great thing. I don't think a lot of people would argue it's a bad thing.
We are, where we are today because of Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. A lot of these people made it the best country in the world, so yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of presidents. Here's to
some good
200 years more.
Yeah, hopefully more than that. We can hope.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you all for watching. I know this is our first podcast, so may not have been the best, but we'll get better as we go along. And yeah.
Please, comment, like, subscribe.
Yeah, let us know what you
whatever
think.
the YouTubers say. But again, we will take criticism. We're just starting out, so call us idiots if you want.
Yeah, especially after he said that the four freedoms were Woodrow Wilson. But yeah, thank y'all for watching.
There's a callback. That's called a callback.
Yeah. We're going to time link that down in the description so y'all can go back to that part and clown him in the comment section.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you then.